purchase ledger period end. Okay, just before I start, obviously a lot of you on this webinar will be familiar with period ends. On my previous Find Out More Friday, I covered the sales ledger period end. So it's a very similar process, but obviously I just want to take you through the process yet again, just to highlight some of the areas and what the actual period end does. So what we'll do is we will just have a quick look at a couple of items that I've set up. So I'm just going to have a quick look for myself on here. So go to the list. So this is an account that I've created during the period, and this my period end in this instant will be 31st of July. So this was an account that I quickly just set up in the purchase ledger and realised actually I set it up incorrectly. So obviously what I wanted to do was to delete that account. So as you can just see down on the area here on the form, you can see obviously I've marked it for deletion. So one of the processes that sort of actually happens in the period end is that it removes anything that we have marked for deletion within the purchase ledger area. So in this particular instance here, I've just marked this account as being deleted. So what we'll do, we'll come back to this once we've run the period end, and then you will see obviously that account will have disappeared. Just also, I created on the maintenance, I just added a quick extra type in here. So if we just come down to the bottom, I actually called it returns. And again, I created this during my period of July, realized I set it up incorrectly. So what I've done again is just mark that for deletion. So what exactly sort of happens on a period end? So let's just have a quick look at the set options under the utilities, and this is what I usually sort of call the driving seat of how the purchase ledger operates. So there's a couple of interesting areas that we've got around here where we've got things like keep transactions, keep analysis image, and keep credit history. Now, where a lot of people who originally set the system up may have gone for the maximum of 99 periods on these, but obviously these can be reduced. Now, what actually happens is when you run a period end and it comes up to any of these periods, therefore what it will do, it will remove those transactions or images based on what you've actually got selected here. Now, it's not an area to just go in and just start changing that, but we do get some clients who probably ring up and suddenly realize, well, why can't I see sort of transactions from, let's say, 48 periods ago? 9 times out, a possibility is because the settings have been set here, and that's what sort of drives that. The other thing, and I also covered this on my previous session, and I thought I'd include it onto this one, and it was just about the allow advanced postings. So let's just briefly just cover on that. So here I am in in August. I've not exactly done my period end for July at the moment, but what I want to do is to start doing some of the processing for August. So I've got invoices coming in for August. I've not closed off July yet. So what I can actually do is tick this option here and allow advanced postings. So just to recap on that, I'm currently dated the 4th of August, so I can process an invoice or a payment providing a market as allow as advanced postings. And one of the processes that actually happens during the end of the period is that flag will automatically untick, and then those advanced postings become current. And again, I've just got some areas that I can show you on that. Okay, so sort of the processes that majority of clients will go through before they do the final period ends. They'll be checking their day book. So here we've got the invoices and credit notes listing. So you can see obviously the default is for this period. Let me just click OK on that one. Just quickly publish to screen, and you can see obviously I've got some entries in here that are dated May. And my apologies, I should have said so end of May. So I slightly got my dates confused here. Additionally, also what I did, I've just put this entry in here, which is an invoice that has actually sort of come in from the previous period, and this does happen. And what I want to do is over my next Find Out More Fridays, just to cover about these dates. And we seem to have sort of clients just trying to get their head around how these dates actually work and how that sits within the nominal. So I will be covering the nominal, and this will be an area that I will cover in detail with you. Now, with the invoices and credit notes listeners, I prefer to call a day book. Obviously, you've got your payments and adjustment reports. So this is purely looking at this period. So what actually happens is when I run the period end, the day book, the receipts and adjustments will all clear down, ready for the next period. If I've got advanced postings on, which I have in this example, when I come to run this after the period end, then you will see the entry coming in for the following month. Okay, so let's just look at the process again. So if I just going to change my calendar date, and I know I did say July, but I'm slightly ahead of myself. So this would have been May. So it's important and imperative that you change your processing date to the end of the period. Obviously, people have different sort of periods. So you'll have people who've got a 445 or they've got a straight month period. So it's imperative that you change the processing date before you run the end of period. Let me just click OK. Let's just go to utilities. And obviously you can see down here, we've got end of period. Purposely under utilities, because again, it's not an option that you want individuals just to run as and when. So that's the reason why it's secured and held under the utilities. So restricted access is very important in that area. So let's just open up end of period. Now, obviously, I said it was imperative put your period end date in there because obviously you can see below it actually says the number of days this period. So if you're looking at this, if I had this obviously as today's date, and I'm just going to do that. So if I just put 040823, obviously it's going to tell me that you can't because it's greater than the system date. But if that was the date that it got on, you would actually see the number of days from your last period end to the current one, and that would be highly increased. So straight away there's an alarm bell there to say, hang on a minute, I shouldn't actually sort of be running that period end date. But again, I think a lot of people on the call are very savvy to how dates sort of work within Opera. So let's just pop it back in it again to 31st. So I'm really having difficulty with my days. 31st of May. The next option you've got is zeroized turnover. And again, just to recap on this, you would only zeroize turnover at the end of your financial year. So therefore, what that will do will reduce the turnover figure down to zero, and then obviously would increase over your 12-month period. So for those people that are running turnover or they're looking at turnover on the screen, that is an accumulative based over your periods. Now, the other thing also that sort of happens is with the period end, it will age the creditors. It will also work out what the average I was going to say debtor days, creditor days actually are. So it's sort of important. It does quite a lot of things based on those period ends that you do. The other thing also is that a lot of clients tend to use this option here, which is an analysis. So there's two areas to the analysis. That one that I've highlighted here looks at the current period, i.e. up to the 31st of May. So just let me close that again. I'm just going to open this one up. So if I just do a quick transactional list, and you can see obviously it's looking at period to date. So this is purely looking at, in my example, the May transactions that I've just shown on the daybook listing. So what actually happens is, again, when the period end is run, the current purchase analysis in this example will be reduced to zero, and those entries will then move over to the history side. So this is the option here. So there are some clients that actually use this for purpose of some reports. It's all worth bearing in mind that the views accumulate both the current and the history. So I would encourage those that may use analysis and history that you could actually produce virtually the same sort of information using the purchase views, and that was something that I may just cover on another Find Out More Friday. Okay, without further ado, let's go and run the actual period end. So end of period, again, just important, just make sure you've got your period end date there. Always check the number of days that are in your period because that's very key on aging, and only tick zeroized turnover at the end of your financial year. You can just see slightly below where it's got block purchase postings to nominal ledger. That is grayed out because that is for open period accounting. And if anybody wanted a little bit more information about open period accounting, just drop me a quick email and I can educate you on what that actually will achieve. And it will be a subject that I will cover at a later date. So once we're happy, all we need to do is that we click OK. Again, you're always going to get this warning that's come up. So use the period end command with caution. Only continue if audit trails are complete and you have a backup of your data. So audit trails, all your reports, all the various things that you do on a regular basis. So it's imperative that you do those procedures. We do have it. Sometimes people just click yes and then suddenly realise they shouldn't have done it. But you can obviously see from here, there's a lot of areas that you can see before you proceed. Have you done this? Have you done that? So once you're happy, you say yes to that, and you're quickly seeing it moving along the bottom there where it's tidying various files. In addition to that, the other things it will be doing the re-indexing on all the tables that are used within the purchase ledger. So that's quite good, quite healthy. So you're actually doing that not knowing that you are actually re-indexing files. So that's great. So what effects has that actually done now? So remember, I created an account on here that was called MAR001. I marked it for deletion, and you can actually see that that has now disappeared. So that was Mark's trading company, and I marked that for deletion. The other thing also I marked for deletion was one of the types. So let's have a look at the list there, and you can see my returns has now disappeared because I marked it for deletion. Let's have a look at the analysis. So I'm just going to go for transactional lists. I'm going to click OK. And what I'm expecting to see on here is one entry, which is the advanced posting. So you can now see what I showed before. I had entries for May on my purchase ledger analysis. That is now cleared on, gone into history, and my forward transaction or advanced posting has now appeared in the current period analysis. Let's have a quick look at the other reports. So we'll look at the invoices and credit notes. And again, I'm expecting to see one entry in here, which was marked as advanced. And there we go. We are now straight into June, ready for processing. Now, I've not actually posted any cash as advance. So what I actually expect to see is the payments and adjustment reports to return no data is available for this report. So you can see how these reports have actually cleared down, ready for the next processing period. Let's just have a quick look at the set options, which is where I started off. And you can see here that the allow advanced postings has now unticked. So that automatically unticked. So if I got to the end of June, I suddenly move into July and I want to start doing advanced postings, then obviously what I would need to do is at the end of June is to tick that option, allow advanced postings. So you can see the effects that has actually sort of made just running the period end.